Well, it's 9 p.m. East African time. Welcome to Prime Edition, bringing you the Eye on the News this Monday, the 20th, the year of the Lord 2023. A little later on in business segment, my colleague Wairimo Njenga will be dealing with the members of parliament called to privatize the national carrier, KQ, or Kenya Airways if you like. Plus, in sports cabinet secretary Namwamba assures rally enthusiasts that your favorite sport, the Safari Rally, is still on. Good evening. My name is Mboya. First, our headline stories.
Kuanzia saa hizi hatuwezi lala. Tukiwa na dio, tutaenda mikutano baada ya mikutano. Na nawahakikishia kwamba kutakuwa na mabadiliko.
A section of leaders in Laikipia call for dusk to dawn curfew to curb insecurity.
My Lord, the evidence of the witnesses is of no evidential value.
Suspended IEBC Commissioner Irene Masit asserts her innocence. Sex predator, 62-year-old German accused of defiling 6 minors. Thank you very much for joining us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Lucy Mwaura. Our socials at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle at Tomboya24. Let's begin with an item here on security, or better still, lack of it. Locals in Matwiku village in Laikipia West constituency, that is in Laikipia County, are tonight saying that illegal herders have become a nightmare in that area. The residents are decrying the loss of property and crops, saying that the herders are roaming all night, grazing their thousands of cattle on their crops, despite the existence of a dusk to dawn curfew that was imposed by government. Yusuf Farah opens our coverage tonight with that story on security.
Locals in parts of Matwiku village in Laikipia West say the ongoing curfew has not yielded much as herders continue to roam with reckless abandon.
Curfew ni ya sisi wananchi wa pande hii wakulima, lakini wale wafugaji sio hawaekei curfew.
Tuliamuka kuchukua mawe nje tukatupa shamba na mzee wangu tukatupa mpaka ikaondoka. Tukasema kama ni kuuawa tuuawe, sababu tutaiangalia tu ikimalizia. Sababu sasa ikikula hiyo tuboga, tutakula ugani na maji.
A section of area leaders is amplifying their calls for the total lockdown of the region from dusk to dawn to save what remains of their crops.
Watu wetu wakiingia manyumbani kwao, wanaingiza mang'ombe yao, na ni maelfu ya mang'ombe wanaingiza kwa mashamba ya wananchi wetu. Saa hii tunaongea, tunajua ile njaa iko na wananchi wetu hawana kitu ya kukula, na hawangekuwa namna hii kama singa hii ilikuwa ni hizo ng'ombe.
Kama curfew ni ya kila mtu aingie kwa nyumba 6.
Locals are concerned that the curfew may fail to yield the intended purpose because it is being applied selectively.
Kuanzia saa hizi hatuwezi lala. Tukiwa na dio, tutaenda mikutano baada ya mikutano. Na nawahakikishia kwamba kutakuwa na mabadiliko kuanzia leo.
The locals recently detained scores of animals in process of what they termed as continued aggression by the herders. They're calling on the government to ensure the curfew applies to all. The operation in Laikipia is part of wider operations in the north by the government as it seeks to ensure calm and normalcy is restored in the bandit-stricken areas. In Tiati Sub-County, Baringo County, leaders have welcomed the operation that has entered day 4, with the multi-agency teams heavily trooping the area.
Lazima hawa majangili ambao wanasumbua watu warudishe kwenye mkono wa sheria.
Wafanye kazi na DC, wafanye na chief, wafanye na wazee wa nyumba 10. Watushikie bandits. Sisi hatuna shida.
Ikifika saa 12 wewe uwe umetoka, hakuna mtu atakufukuza. Ikifika saa 12 asubuhi unaweza rejea.
The leaders thanked the president for the move seeking to reach the region of bandits that have for long bedeviled the region. Yusuf Farah reporting for Prime Edition.
On to a story here that a bit disturbing. A 62-year-old man has denied 6 counts of sexually molesting and also sodomizing 6 minors between 2014 and 2019. Martin Herman Baumgartner, alias Mzee, has been remanded at the Nakuru GK prison until Wednesday, when the court will make a ruling on his bail application. Ben Troy Njue is the one following that story for us.
Herman Baumgartner, alias Mzee, before Nakuru Senior Resident Magistrate Emmanuel Soita. The German-born businessman, who also enjoys Kenyan citizenship, is alleged to have sodomized 6 minors on diverse dates between November 2014 and April 2019 within Bahati sub-county in Nakuru.
In Western sub-county, Nakuru County, you intentionally and unlawfully penetrated the anus of a minor named VK, aged 17 years old, using the offense. Is that offense true or false?
Herman, who has lived in the country for over 40 years, was arrested on February 14 at Kwanyayo area near Kamindu Center, Nakuru, on allegations of sexually molesting young boys.
Your Honor, the accused person provides assistance, financial assistance, to only male children through his company, where he is the sole director. The company called Twajenga Holdings Company Limited.
Mzee also faced 1 count of unlawfully possessing a firearm and 3 charges of human trafficking. Prosecution opposed his release on bond, claiming he was a flight risk owing to his dual citizenship status.
In this case, he is charged with very serious offenses. That is consideration number 1 of the bail and bond policy. The attempt to run away is so real, and that is why, Your Honor, to be pleased to deny the accused person bond.
They also noted that the accused was a man of great influence in the area and was likely to interfere with investigations.
What is being done here is violation of the Constitution. Being discriminated on the basis of race. That's why they are saying he's a German. They are not talking about him being a Kenyan.
Herman, a director at Twajenga Holdings Limited, is said to have been providing financial assistance to male children through his company, with some working for him as employees. For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troy Njue.
Now, the government has launched a nationwide crackdown on rogue real estate developers who've been blamed for crumbling buildings in the country. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kindiki Kithure is issuing the orders, said that the government will not stand by and watch rogue contractors float building codes. Zainab Said is on that story.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki was speaking during the opening of a primary school at the General Service Unit Camp in Juja, Kiambu County. Kindiki directed the National Security and Intelligence Agencies to collaborate with other stakeholders to rein in on rogue contractors.
Hakuna tofauti ya ule landlord anajenga nyumba ambaye inaporomoka na kuua watu 10. Hakuna tofauti ya huyo mtu na ule magaidi ako huko North Rift anaiba ng'ombe na kuua watu.
Kindiki cited deep-rooted corruption in county governments as a cause of the continued mushrooming of substandard buildings in the country. The security boss also called on the public to help the security officers smoke out illegal foreigners.
Wamekodesha manyumba na wengine ndio wale katika siku za nyuma wamepanga mambo ya kuhatarisha usalama wetu kwa sababu ni wahalifu na wameingia hapa kinyume na sheria.
Zainab Said, Prime Edition.
Now, Information, Communication, Technology and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says that government is keen on the realization of the digital superhighway as a means of creating cheap as well as sustainable platform for the creative youth to exploit their talents gainfully. Speaking in Kisumu as he inspected Studio Mashinani, that's a government project that allows talented Kenyans to record music for free. The Cabinet Secretary revealed that government is going full hog on ensuring that the digital space is fully exploited and also utilized. Achola Simon puts that story in perspective.
There are a lot of artists who come here, sir, and I feel that's an important point to just...
Information, Communication, Technology and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eludo Walo says the government is banking on the digital superhighway to create an enabling environment for the creative economy to flourish.
Apart from the free Wi-Fi's, we are also setting up 1,450 digital hubs at the lowest administrative units within the ward. This is a space where the youth can get trained, get the requisite ICT skills, and then we reach out to tech companies so that we match them with the digital jobs within the digital space.
Owalo says the government will fund 52% of the project, while the remaining 48% will be taken up by the private sector. Owalo spoke as he toured Studio Mashinani studios in Kisumu County. Studio Mashinani, a government project housed by the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, provides a platform for talented musicians across the country to record music for free.
Tapping into the untapped talent at the grassroots levels within the creative economy. We have quite a number of youth with a lot of potential in the areas like music, but who do not have access to finances for purposes of recording. So this is actually what gave birth to the Studio Mashinani concept.
Already 7 studios in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kitui, Gatanga and Kisumu counties are already operational, while 4 others are under construction in Kisii, Kakamega, Eldoret and Garissa counties. Meanwhile, the CS has reiterated his push to ensure the revamping of Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
So re-engineering the content is imperative. We must re-engineer our content so that it is responsive to the needs of the market. The other issue that we need to address, of course, is staff motivation. We have got staff that is a bit demotivated, perhaps because of historical issues. We are going to undertake a job evaluation to ensure that we come up with salaries and benefits levels that are not just internally competitive, internally equitable, but also externally competitive.
Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
Let's now get the latest from the IEBC tribunal hearing. Suspended Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commissioner Irene Masit has maintained her innocence against accusations that, together with the 3 other commissioners, tried to subvert the will of the people in the 2022 presidential poll. Through her lawyer, Donald Kipkorir, Masit dismissed the claims as hearsay based on what was shown on television. And as Kamchemeza reports, Masit's fate now lies with the tribunal that concluded the hearings Monday and now embarks on writing its report and, of course, then presenting it to President William Ruto.
Abuse of power.
The Justice Agri Muchelule-led tribunal on Monday received submissions from suspended IEBC Commissioner Irene Masit, who in her defense countered accusations of violating the Constitution during the 2022 presidential election results.
My Lord, the evidence of the witnesses is of no evidential value. Their testimonies did not establish the fact in issue, what they call factum probandum. The burden of proof was not discharged by the lead counsel. The charge of conspiracy wasn't proved at all. The evidence of the TV clips is hearsay, and the hearsay, of course, evidence of the witnesses must fail. It never met the legal threshold.
According to Masit, the evidence adduced by 11 witnesses, including retired IEBC Chair Fula Chebukati and current IEBC CEO Marjan Hussein, does not warrant her removal from office.
My Lord, the division of the IEBC commissioners into 2 groups, Cherera 4 and Chebukati 3, the Serena Conference, all those were determined in the High Court, the Supreme Court, and the court made findings on them. What Peter Munge wants you to do is to revisit, to review that, the holding of the Supreme Court.
There is no evidence that has been presented to show that any court anywhere within this great republic address the issue of removal of the commissioner or any of the commissioners pursuant to Article 251 of the Constitution. And therefore, the issues before the Supreme Court are distinct from the issues that are before it.
Lead counsel Peter Munge, however, faulted Masit for refusing to take the stand to rebut the witnesses' evidence.
My Lord, Mr. Chair and members, there is evidence that specific people who are aligned to one political divide, and there's clear evidence on that, went to the rooms where the commissioner and others were staying. She did not rebut that evidence. She did not rebut it. And therefore, that evidence is unchallenged.
The impartiality of the tribunal also cropped up.
Yes, there have been criticisms, including counsel asking us to deal with our conscience in this matter. I think on our part we consider that every criticism that there was went to enrich this process, and it will not be taken in any other manner.
Whether or not Masit will survive the probe now lies with the tribunal that wound up the hearings Monday ahead of presentation of its findings and recommendations to the president. The process to establish a new commission has already kicked off. Kamchi Menza for Prime Edition.
Well, that story brings us to our first break. But coming up, lady suspected of killing a 1.5-year-old son to be remanded, and also on cabinet tonight, we feature Stephen Oluoj Ondiek. Stay with us.
Sawa.
Vijana chapakazi wenye nguvu za ziada.
My youth, uko na talent ya kusing, spoken word, kucompose jingles ama any other unexploited artistic talent. Gava through Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy na KBC sasa wamekama up na project ya kupromote usanii called Studio Mashinani. Hizi ni studios ziko grassroots and they are fitted with high quality state-of-the-art equipment where you can produce quality audio and video music content for free. What's more, wanaoffer mentorship na talanta yako itakuwa promoted on KBC Channel 1 TV, Y254 na radio stations za KBC. Tembelea Studio Mashinani huko Comarox, Langata, Sauti House Mombasa, Kirwara huko Gatanga, Kitui next to Manyanyoni Chiefs Camp na Kisumu City wako hapo KBC station. Usilalie talent. This is your chance to commercialize and popularize your talent through Studio Mashinani.
Nini? Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000. Aulali. Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Welcome back, our socials at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Mboya24. Straight into the corridors of justice, Jen Mwikia, the 24-year-old woman who is suspected of killing her 1.5-year-old son and dumping the body in a pit latrine, will be remanded for another 15 days. Investigation officer Elvis Onyango requested the court to grant more days so that they complete their investigations, including conducting a mental health assessment on the suspect. This and more from the corridors of justice.
A court in Limuru has granted detectives from Lari Police Station 15 days to continue detaining Jane Mwikia, who is alleged to have strangled her 1.5-year-old child and later dumped the body in a pit latrine. Limuru Senior Principal Magistrate Jared Magori granted investigating officer Elvis Onyango his request for more time to complete investigations and conduct a mental health assessment on the suspect before charging her. Mwikia is alleged to have committed the crime on the 16th February and was unable to explain to her parents where the child was after arriving home, prompting them to report the matter at Kimende Police Station. This led to her arrest. The case will be mentioned on the 8th of March 2023.
Expect to be remanded at Lari Police Station for 15 days to enable the investigating officer to complete his investigations.
Also, the investigating officer in baby Ethan Jr. Mwendo's death, Peter Wafula, has told a court in Machakos that reports indicated that the child died of morphine overdose. Principal Magistrate Mary Anjao Otindo has set the next hearing date on 24th of April 2023. Baby Ethan's death at Machakos Shalom Hospital led to its temporary shutdown in 2019. A magistrate, Victor Wakumile, has ruled that a 76 million shillings anti-corruption case against former Migori Governor Kotho Badu and others will continue. This is after Badu and others, through their lawyers, sought to have the case start afresh after Magistrate Victor Wakumile took over the trial from where Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambe left following his promotion to the High Court. The hearing commenced in 2020 with 48 witnesses lined up, and only one witness has testified for 2 years now.
To me, starting the novel in this matter would amount to an affront on Article 159B of the prosecution. Of the Constitution, no prejudice will be suffered to any party. So I order that the matter proceeds from where it has stopped.
The matter will be mentioned on the 25th of March this year. Finally, 12 suspects charged in 2016 when fire broke out at Langata Boys High School in Nairobi, burning classes and a dormitory, questioned the investigating officer on the legitimacy of his report to charge them.
Imagining and assuming that we have the power and resources, we just decided, let's go arrest Alex for nothing. No, not at all.
Magistrate Bernard Chai will rule on the matter on the 21st of March 2023. The value of the property destroyed was estimated at 5.4 million shillings. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Now, here's the thing. The government is racing against time. Why? They have to certify all the technical, vocational education, as well as TVET training institutions to offer recognition of prior learning certificates, RPL, throughout the entire country. Principal Secretary, TVET, Dr. Esther Mora, says that this will ensure graduates are ready for the job market. She made those remarks in the coastal town of Mombasa while opening a 3-day workshop for the Kenya National Qualifications Authority Board. International Labour Organization National Program Coordinator Godfrey Ochola pledged ILO's support to the government's job creation initiatives.
As a state department, we have policies that guide the areas of training, so that if we are going to say we are going to train in the area of skills such as plumbing, we have policies in place that guide that this is what the learner must go through from the beginning to the highest level that they want to stay. So our learning is put together. It is well in our policies.
We interact with education partners through one recommendation and one convention. Convention 142. on human resource development, which speaks a lot about lifelong learning, the work KNQA does. When they talk of the qualification framework, that's how we fit it. And recommendation 195 that looks at supporting human resource through skilling and lifelong learning.
Business was brought to a standstill at Ulumbi High School, that's in Gemiala sub-county, following a protest by villagers to the Teacher Service Commission against posting a principal who has been described as a non-performer.
According to the irate villagers, the principal being posted the school had a track record of poor performance over time.
We are exercising our right here to come and defend the rights of our children and also of our parents. This school used to produce a lot of A's. There was a time when we had over 30 people going to university. Today, only 2 people or 3 people can go to university.
Tunataka maendeleo kwa hii shule. Hatutaki biashara kwa hii shule.
In Mandera, police have arrested 2 women aged between 40 and 44 for allegedly selling goods intended for school feeding program.
Nataka tuwakanye wahusika wote au washikadau wote kwamba chakula ya shule ama chakula ya watoto ni ya watoto, sio kuuzwa. Kama mtu anafanya biashara, ni mzuri wafanye biashara ya halali, sio kujihusisha katika biashara haramu kama hayo.
Elsewhere, the National Government Constituency Development Fund CEO Yusuf Mbuno has asserted the fund's independence devoid of control by the National Assembly.
Tuna hiyo basari ambaye ni idadi ya milioni 20 ambaye inaenda kusaidia wanafunzi wetu, na hapa katika Kipkelianis pia tulipitisha kwamba our day school will actually watapata hiyo kufaidika, especially form 4. Tulisema hakuna form 4 atafukuzwa nyumbani tena kwa sababu tutagharamia, na pia wale wengine tutafanyia vetting ili wapate kunufaika kutokana na hiyo pesa.
Finally, residents and leaders of Bonde area in Cherengani constituency are protested over wide-scale grabbing of public utility land in the area. They claimed some government officials had irregularly allocated themselves land meant for public use.
Na nyinyi pia mlinde mali yenu ya mwananchi, ili mtoto wako aweze kufaidika. Mimi sifanyi hiyo kwa sababu mimi nataka kufaidika pale. Ninataka mtoto wenu aweze kufanya nini? Mtoto aweze kusoma, usalama uweze kupatikana na mambo mengine.
Well, he was the head of the Legio Maria Church of Africa when he joined elective politics at a time when most of Nyanza's leadership had abandoned President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi and the ruling party KANU to join the opposition. This week on the cabinet, we focus on Archbishop Stephen Ondiek, who served in the Moi cabinet.
In 2001, Legio Maria Church of Africa Archbishop Stephen Ondiek served in President Daniel Moi's cabinet as Minister for Manpower Development at a time when a majority of leaders hailing from Nyanza region had abandoned KANU and President Daniel Arap Moi to join the opposition. He had previously served as an assistant minister in the Ministry of Public Works. Ondiek's elevation to cabinet minister happened at the tail end of President Moi's rule and 18 years after he joined elective politics. During his short tenure as minister, he was known for promptly answering to questions regarding his ministry on the floor of parliament, as well as coming through for his absent cabinet colleagues. Opposition Doyen Jaramogi Oginga Odinga is on record as the one who persuaded Archbishop Ondiek to join elective politics. Kenya was then under a single-party rule, with KANU being the only legal party in the country. Ondiek effectively used his position in charge to woo voters and successfully ran for the Ugenya parliamentary seat against his brother-in-law James Orengo. In the infamous 1988 general election, otherwise referred to as Mlolongo Q voting, which allegedly favored President Moi's cronies, Ondiek was re-elected to parliament. He would then represent his constituency until 1992, when Orenga recaptured the seat following the reintroduction of multi-partyism. Nyanza, and specifically Luo Nyanza, chose to have nothing to do with President Moi and the KANU party. Their leader of choice was Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who in 1992 was a presidential candidate on a forum for the restoration of democracy Ford Kenya ticket. Ondiek briefly held the post of Siaya KANU branch chairman. That party position had been held by William Odongo Mamo until his defection to the Raila Odinga-led National Development Party (NDP) in 1997. Ondiek's legacy remains in the education field as he invested in both primary and secondary schools in Nairobi, Kisii, and in his home area. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto, kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
No, I don't think you're ready for that one yet.
What happened to not hogging the ball?
Yes, you could hog. I just think you're not ready yet.
Aki baba mbona nikikupata huku? Nikikupata huku wewe, yani unibia mbao yangu, ukamkukunywa. Hiki kibaba ni kiera gani? Hiki kibaba wacha nikushike wewe.
Abuda, kuna noma nini?
Labda tuambie.
Si raha tuna noma. Ara nikujitoa tuko najitoa.
So you said you're showing me evidence. I want to see it for myself. Plus the little boys, kwani what are they going to do? Ziggy! Ziggy, please, can you please stop? Please say yes, someone help us! Ziggy!
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Well, I hope that you have had a lovely Monday. Let's take a look at today's business news. My name is Wairimo Jenga. Now, the National Assembly's Finance and National Planning Committee has reduced by 1 billion shillings a proposed government bailout to Kenya Airways. This means the airline will get 19 billion shillings from national coffers to fund its operations and revamp. As Regina Manyara narrates, MPs are calling for the privatization of the Kenya Airways to reduce its reliance on public coffers.
Kenya Airways has been loss-making for about a decade. This has seen the airline opt for shareholder cash injection to fund its operations. Among the key shareholders of the airline is the government that has in recent years been pumping billions of shillings to keep the Kenya Airways in the air. However, legislators say the cash calls by KQ can be avoided if the airline is privatized.
Industry like those to be managed by the government, and therefore the best thing to do
is to prioritize to privatize them so that at least we can get value of them.
In the current financial year, the government was to inject 20 billion shillings into KQ's operations, but the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning has recommended that the amount be reduced by 1 billion shillings.
Kenya Airways, we cannot continue to be allocating these funds to it. We really need to make a decision. And these 19 billion shillings that we're even suggesting that we give it a capital injection, I wish we didn't have to.
The committee has also shot down a proposal that a 6.14 billion shillings be spent on buying out the stake held by Helios in Telkom Kenya to make the telco fully owned by the government.
But as a committee now, we're coming up with tightening regulations so that we make it more difficult for any executive to abuse Article 223, and especially during a transition process.
The committee has instead recommended the Auditor General to conduct a special audit on the Helios Telkom Kenya transaction. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, the second phase of the Hustler Fund will be advanced based on creditworthiness of the targeted startups, micro, small and medium enterprises and groups. Cooperative Development Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says borrowers will have up to a year to repay the loan. Speaking during the Harambee SACCO annual general meeting, Chairman MacLeod Malonza said the SACCO made 444.6 million in net surplus last year and plans to focus on membership growth and deposit mobilization this year.
Our revenue grew from 4.2 billion to 5.01 billion. That has enabled us to make available return to the membership of 2.04 billion, and that is what we are going to pay as 8% on interest on deposits and then 12% dividend on share capital.
We are even in negotiation. You remember we promised you, we see whether is it possible once somebody passes on, because some of the families don't have money for burial, can that money come from Harambee and then we claim from CIC? Now those are discussions which we are discussing now to ensure we continue to better it.
We have come up with a eligibility criteria, one of them being a credit worthiness of the group. Ability or rather you've borrowed from other institutions and you have been able to service. And we're also going to engage in financial rehabilitation. So the existing groups who have non-performing loans will be given a lower percentage of what they will qualify, because what we want to do is to create access but also manage a risk. So we are not excluding any member, any group, but we will be able to mitigate that risk by lowering the amount that particular group will be accessing.
Now to the agriculture sector. Kenya is seeking funding from the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, to combat quail birds invasion in parts of Kisumu and Narok. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi says this is part of steps by the government to address the issue of birds that are a threat to rice and wheat production.
The government early this year allowed importation of 100,000 tons of rice on a duty-free basis to bridge the deficit. However, the government deficit might widen after the quail bird invasion of rice fields in Kisumu, threatening 2,000 acres under rice. Kenya is in talks with the Food and Agriculture Organization for funds to manage the quail birds that have also invaded wheat farms in Narok.
We've explained to him the challenges that we are meeting, we are having as a country, and especially with the control and fight with the fall armyworm and the quillian bands, and they will be telling you what we've discussed.
Part of the money will be spent on tackling invasion of fall armyworms.
So through the professional dialogue and matchmaking cooperation, we will help you to make the agricultural transformation more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable.
FAO has committed 660 million shillings on the Kenya Integrated Agriculture Management Information System Digitization Program that will inform policy reforms.
Once you have enough technology, enough investment, and we can do more and better. Of course, you have a lot of challenges. FAO is a professional organization. We cover all the agriculture, forestry, animals, and fishery.
Benson Ruba reporting for Prime Edition.
Housing Finance Group's banking subsidiary HFC and Strathmore University Business School have partnered to empower small and medium enterprises with tailor-made financial solutions and training. The partnership targets SMEs within the manufacturing, real estate, healthcare, education, and agriculture value chain sectors.
SMEs constitute 98% of all businesses in Kenya, responsible for 30% of jobs created annually. Despite their contribution to the economy, 46% of SMEs close within a year of founding due to challenges such as accessing credit and lack of technical know-how.
This partnership, as colleagues have said, will see us provide training opportunities to SMEs, both our clients and the clients of Strathmore.
If we push this partnership very well, we shall be supporting and growing so many people, creating opportunities for them so that they can find a way of living in dignity.
HF Group's banking subsidiary HFC and Strathmore University Business School have come together to support SMEs through training and capacity building and provision of financial solutions.
This partnership, as colleagues have said, will see us provide training opportunities to SMEs, both our clients and the clients of Strathmore.
I think we also have a meeting of the minds around the big picture, which we are all called to address in this country, in this continent, around the need to create growing enterprises that will create employment opportunities for the so many young people who are leaving school and joining the labor market.
Under the partnership, HFC and Strathmore will leverage each other's expertise to create a supportive ecosystem specifically designed to propel SMEs to the next frontier of growth and economic contribution. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
Government is likely to abolish a requirement that foreign investors have a 30% local shareholding to promote foreign direct investment. Industry, Trade and Investment Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria says some classes in the Companies Act of 2015 limit foreign firms bringing innovation and new technology into the country and are holding Kenya back from hitting the $10 billion FDI target for this year.
In June 2016, the Companies Act came into effect, requiring foreign investors setting up in Kenya to have 30% of their stake held by a Kenyan. This was meant to empower locals, allowing them to benefit from skills transfer and investment opportunities by businesses coming into the country. Industry, Trade and Investment Cabinet Secretary says this regulation is restricting companies looking to set up shop locally.
We have got this part in our statutes that requires international companies to have 30% local ownership if you are to set up some of the operations like data centers. Ladies and gentlemen, hiyo ni mambo ambayo imepitwa na wakati. That's where the oil is coming from.
He says the policy is now up for review and measures are being taken to restructure it to reach a favorable solution for all parties involved.
And we need to do only that which we can be able to achieve. If any part of our laws is not making any sense, if any part of our laws is not implementable, as a minister in charge of investment, I have said that I have an objective to raise FDI, foreign direct investment, from $500 million currently to $10 billion by the end of this year. I need to achieve my KPIs. I need these companies here. If it needs changing the law, I will change the law.
He says for fintechs, the business environment should be liberalized to keep up with global trends.
So in this regard, I am going to be taking to the cabinet this amendment to remove this regulation so that companies can come here and use this country to base their operation, especially for Africa and beyond, and so that we live with the times.
He, however, notes that such firms must have a local-centric operating model. The CS says the government is working on a digital directory for all enterprises to ensure foreign investors get a better insight into what Kenyan businesses can offer.
What we need here is jobs, and investment for our people.
And we hope within a short time we'll have companies that will say these are our champion entities, and you can be able to travel with them wherever you go.
Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Now, Kenya is in an advanced stage of ratifying the Cooperative Framework Agreement for the Nile Basin Initiative. In May 2010, 5 upstream states signed a Cooperative Framework Agreement to seek more water from the River Nile, which severely opposed Egypt and Sudan. Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Dr. Paul Ronos has said Kenya plans to ratify the framework this year after it was approved by the Cabinet and the Parliament.
River Nile has been a hot button issue in the Horn of Africa, with various countries staking claim of the longest river in Africa. This issue has threatened to explode, with Egypt threatening to use military force on any country that seeks to divert waters from the river that has its source in Lake Victoria. To foster harmony and proper use of River Nile waters, regional countries have developed the Nile Basin Initiative, which seeks to develop the river into a cooperative manner, share substantial socio-economic benefits, and promote regional peace and security.
This year's Nile Day theme is deepening Nile cooperation for sustainable development in a changing climate. This theme is a timely and relevant reminder to us as basin citizens and stakeholders of critical issues in the following ways.
Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Dr. Paul Rono says Kenya will be hosting the 17th Regional Nile Day this week, which brings together countries with interest in River Nile. The PS says Kenya will employ persuasion and diplomacy to bring back Egypt, which left in 2010 after protesting the signing of the Cooperative Framework Agreement by some member countries.
We believe that as a region and as a country, we can really negotiate and agree instead of just going and violating it, because the member state, and especially the Egyptians, they are willing to discuss with us so that we deposit in the UN our agreement.
PS Rono says Kenya is at an advanced stage of ratifying the framework.
So framework is on the table, it can be discussed. Once everything is agreed upon, I believe we'll be able to extract this water and use it, because some countries have, surely it's true, they have sort of violated, but they had to go and renegotiate why they violated. But we see as a country we are almost at the tail end of agreement.
Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
The government has spent more than 3 billion shillings to provide relief food to more than 4.5 million Kenyans facing starvation. East African Community Principal Secretary Abdi Dubat says the government is in the process of reviewing the country's legal framework to mitigate against the effects of climate change. More than 23 counties are facing starvation in Kenya, with 8 more counties in need of food assistance.
The arid and semi-arid areas in Kenya are facing unprecedented shock. Close to 5 million Kenyans in these counties are in dire need of food aid, and millions of livestock have been decimated. The government has upscaled relief efforts in these counties, setting up a committee led by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to deal with the food insecurity in the country.
We are putting in place measures to ensure that we increase our food productivity to the extent that we become a self-sufficient country food-wise.
EACPS Abdi Dubat says the government is working towards creating better policy frameworks that will ensure arid and semi-arid lands are given top priority in agricultural transformation. According to the National Drought Management Authority, 4.5 million people in 23 counties are facing starvation, with another 846,000 in 9 additional counties in need of assistance. Between September 2022 and January 2023, the government spent at least 3.2 billion shillings in emergency responses.
The Kenya Kwanza agenda, and this administration's agenda, is to invest in these regions, in these areas, so that the production of both of animals and livestock and also agriculture in terms of irrigation will turn these areas into productive areas that can contribute significantly to the economic growth of this republic.
Dubat says the ministry is also working towards creating a vibrant livestock industry in the country. Ndusa Mokami for Prime Edition.
Well, that's what we had lined up for you. Daniel Wahome is on the other end of the studio with today's sports. But first, we take a short commercial break. My name is Wairimu Jenga. Have a good night.
Does your father know what you're doing? Does your date know the truth? And Jenny, does she know?
Jenny!
Stop calling me that.
Why can't I call you by your name?
Because I'm not Jenny. Can you pretend that we don't know each other?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
At my workplace, there's a girl like you. Oh. Actually, she is like you when you were young. So much about her makes me confused.
Why don't you tell him what I came here for? Tell him!
Stop it. That's enough.
Go ahead. Why don't you tell him? Ask her what happened, Dad.
I'm not interested. This whole thing's over.
Just get out of my house. I don't want to see you, simple as that. And it's better if we forget about what happened between us.
What's going on between you and Amparo?
Yes, I accept.
What? Yes to marrying me?
Yes. And also why? Why did you do this to me? I loved you. Why did this have to happen to me?
So you have a girl now, young man? Is she someone I know?
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tim Garzi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Mrealize jamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the Trier sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
I want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local gems. And we sit to chat with the Thiambo.
I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me, with the Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Nakono too. Hey, mashabiki. Say that
again. Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome. Let's get the sport. And the Cabinet Secretary for Sport, Ababu Namwamba, today presided over the unveiling of the World Rally Championship Safari Rally Project Committee at the Kenya National Library Service headquarters in Nairobi ahead of the main event scheduled for the 22nd to the 25th of June in Naivasha. Namwamba, who on Tuesday last week called for a meeting with the KMSF board and FI officials to discuss the changes at the WRC Safari Rally, assured that the global event is on as earlier planned.
During the event, which was also attended by the Principal Secretary of State Department for Youth Affairs and the Arts, Ismail Malim, and Turkana North MP, Paul Nabuin, the vibrant CS reiterated the need of prudent use of resources invested in the global rallying spectacle by the Kenyan government.
We demand no less for the resources government is putting in and for the resources sponsors are putting in. Sponsors kama mnataka yenu itumike huku, kule, pale, hapa. That is up to you. But for the resources government is putting in, please, we are going to be very, very keen on how you're using those resources.
Making the appointment through a Kenyan Gazette notice, Namwamba said that the members of both steering committee and organizing committee will serve 1 year starting January 4th this year.
We want to see more women drivers in this rally. We want to see young people, youth. I know we have a very vibrant team of young people, our youthful drivers. We want to see them really participating in this thing strongly.
The chairperson of the organizing committee for the WRC and African Rally champion Carl Tundo on his part promised to deliver a top-notch event that will meet the expectation of all those seeking to take part. Namwamba will be the chairperson of the steering committee and will be deputized by the Principal Secretary for Sports, Jonathan Mweke. Kenya Motorsports Federation Chairman Phineas Kimanthi is the secretary of the steering committee, which will also have 7 members, while Tundo will chair the organizing committee and will be deputized by Brian Mutembei. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Now, the 2023 Magical Kenya Open Golf Championship received a major boost following a sponsorship of 70 million shillings from Absa Bank. The Magical Kenya Open Golf Championship will be held from the 9th to the 12th of March at the Par 71 Muthaiga Golf Club.
Hosts who are the...
Speaking during the check handover ceremony, Absa Bank Interim Managing Director Yusuf Umari reaffirmed the bank's commitment to continue partnering with the government of Kenya, the Kenya Open Golf Limited, and other partners to grow the profile of the tournament.
We're going to have 20 million shillings, which will be to make sure that we can be able to, look after the spectators, look after our customers, make this tournament what it is through creating awareness and creating an environment that will make this event successful.
Omari said the Magical Kenya Open Golf Tournament plays a crucial role in positioning Kenya as an international tourism and sporting destination.
And you can see it's becoming more and more popular. And when you start seeing some big stars coming to the country, for tourism, going to Masai Mara, that's what this tournament is all about.
Taking the flag on.
The 2023 edition is expected to attract an estimated 156 elite golfers from across the world, including 8 Kenyan professionals and 6 amateurs who will take a shot at $2 million prize purse.
Beauty. Oh, it's an absolute little gem. That was a tough shot.
Last year, Chinese Ashun Wu won the Magical Kenya Open, played at the Muthaiga Golf Club.
Yes, well done. Up into a tie for second.
Kingori Mwangi for Channel 1 Sports.
It really has been.
Now, Steve Orinda from Taft University of South Africa emerged as the overall gross winner as the curtains came down on the inaugural University Golf Day at the VET Lab Sports Club. The event attracted over 100 students drawn from 18 universities and colleges across the country.
Sixty of the students participated in a golf tournament, while the rest took part in a golf clinic where they were taken through introductory lessons to the game of golf. The students in the clinic also got a chance to walk the golf course and watch their peers playing. In the tournament, home player Steve Orinda, a student at Taft University, South Africa, emerged the overall gross winner, having played a score of 73 gross. The overall net prize was won by Kevin Kabugi from Strathmore University, who played 68 net.
it was a good experience because we did learn a lot. Okay, I can say I'm a beginner, but I've had some different experience, like going to Modaiga Awards, but for playing, I didn't experience over here. And I believe golf for university will go a long way.
Faith Ontune from Egerton University played 83 gross to Emai the winner in the girls category, while Sarak Mikok from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology won the net prize with a score of 76 net.
We hope to see that more of our students can come together and practice and learn to play golf together and eventually participate in league matches amongst universities in Kenya and get to network with students from all over the country.
The boys category was won by Lee Kimathi, who played 80 gross, while Alfred Duarte won the net prize with a score of 72, beating Elvis Koech and Clive Otieno on countback. The event attracted over 100 students drawn from 18 universities and colleges across the country.
Things that we have emphasized is the virtues of golf to our students, the virtues of integrity, virtues of honesty, virtues of hard work, all the things that you'd find in golf. Good environmental preservation, and so on and so forth. And today we have also discussed with the students that they go out and make their own golf clubs, in which the union and the clubs in this country are going to support.
Now, across our borders is that Spanish giants Barcelona re-established their 8-point lead at the top of La Liga thanks to a 2-0 win over struggling Cadiz. In another match, Neymar was carried off on a stretcher before Lionel Messi scored a 95th minute winner as Paris Saint-Germain gained a 4-3 win over Lille in Ligue 1.